Welcome back. All right, so a second news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Monday, January the 27th, starting with Logan Thompson. He will be sticking around with the Washington Capitals. He has given them amazing goaltending this year, and so he's signed a 6-year extension, $5.85 million cap hit. That's a fantastic cap hit considering the salary cap's going up. It's not even $6 million a year. So Logan Thompson clearly feeling like, I'm appreciated here, wanting to stick around. The Capitals wanting to keep him. And at that cap hit, it leaves them plenty of room to go out and get other players this coming summer too and everything else. I like the contract a lot. I think it's a bargain for the Capitals. That's some good management. Aube-Kubel's on waivers for Buffalo. Now, before the season started, one of the storylines with the Sabres was that they were trying to make their bottom six faster. And they did, but clearly it's just not been working that well, and Aube-Kubel's on waivers. He was one of the ones they brought in with this idea of that speed being a part of it. So we'll see whether or not he gets claimed. I'm going to say probably not, but you just never know. Guys have been claimed randomly this year. Well, not randomly. I mean, teams have to put in a claim. But either way, it can be difficult to figure out who's getting claimed and who's not. Patrick Kane, placed on injured reserve by the Detroit Red Wings. I believe it's retroactive to January 21st. Fine. I mix up the months. It's no big, I'm old. But yeah, so that means he would be eligible to come off of IR tomorrow. So it's just one of those short-term things in all likelihood. But Patrick Kane being out for Detroit, we'll see how they respond to that. So I mentioned the Ottawa Senators earlier today. What do they put up on their social media? They put up Spartacat, their mascot, wearing a jersey that's one of those half and half. That way you've ruined two jerseys. It reminds me of Homer Simpson with the coat, putting the tweed, the tweed patches on the leather jacket. Marge's like, you've ruined a perfectly good jacket. And he's like, now, ruined two perfectly good jackets. But I'm paraphrasing. But either way, that's what I think of when I see the jerseys that are fused together like that. And I have a few of them too. I have a few of those half and half jerseys. Those are saved for special occasions. But Spartacat wearing one that's half Sens, half Nordiques. Today may not have been the day to be posting that when the question of whether or not Ottawa would consider a move to Quebec City is out there, right? Now, obviously, if we go down that rabbit hole, if Michael Andlauer came out tomorrow and said, I don't think this works in Ottawa, we're not getting the building, and I'm going to move it to Quebec, it has to go to the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors has to sign off on it. And we know that Jeremy Jacobs, who's the owner of the Boston Bruins and, basically is in charge of the Board of Governors, he's not a big fan of the idea of going back to Quebec City. It's part of the reason that the Nordiques don't get a lot of press from the National Hockey League, other than they'll still sell you a bunch of merch with that logo on it because they know you'll buy it. But it wouldn't go through anyways. Like, I don't think if Andlauer came out tomorrow and said, well, I'm ready to move this to Quebec City, one of the reasons that he was brought in as the owner of the Sens, one of the reasons the NHL okayed the sale is that he basically was willing to keep the team in Ottawa no matter what and saying, yep, I'm committed to this location and this market. So within a couple of years, the idea of him saying, well, screw it, I'm going to move. I can't see it. But it is something that a lot of fans had some comments about. Fans were not happy. Ottawa fans not happy today to see their mascot wearing a jersey that's half Ottawa, half Quebec. Sort of like, we got our foot halfway in the door into Quebec City. So we'll see, right? It's still up last time I looked. I think they'll probably leave it up there and then just, you get the memory wipe thing from Men in Black. Those things are great. Anyways, once you get older, it's the next morning and you've memory wiped half of the day before. So the Vancouver Canucks are still taking calls on Miller and Pettersson. At this point, all the rumor mill seems to be more towards, okay, now it's Pettersson that could get traded rather than Miller. It's going to depend on the team that's calling. Some teams would prefer to have Pettersson. Some would prefer to have Miller. They play very different styles of hockey, so it makes sense that a team that's after one wouldn't necessarily be after the other. And with Carolina not getting Pettersson, and they were in on Pettersson before getting Rantanen, now there's talks about Buffalo being in on a potential deal for Pettersson. He does not have a no movement clause. Miller does, so I'm sure if you went to Miller about Buffalo, you might get some language thrown at you. But the Canucks are still taking these calls. I know I'm just hoping this gets resolved soon, because if this goes past the trade deadline, I might rip my hair out if I had any. So Kevin Weeks and Emily Kaplan breaking the news about the Penguins. And it's not the kind of news that we would normally see just before the trade deadline, but it's ownership news in that the team is exploring basically taking the team to market for a potential sale of a minority ownership stake. So if you've always wanted a part of the Pittsburgh Penguins, so you can walk in the building and go, yeah, I'm partial owner here. Yeah, about $100 worth last week. Maybe you'll be, no, it's not going to be like that. But either way, ownership stake is out there apparently starting next week for Pittsburgh, and the current majority owners will stay the majority owners. This is not like they're going to sell the team off and you're going to have to worry about that, but just looking for an investor who's going to take a minority stake in the team. Now, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about. First off, normally by now I would have done like a team-centric video or some other specialty video. I did not. Yvonne and I spent an hour today talking to a representative from Fourth Wall. They are basically merchandise extension of what I do here. They'd be a partner, and it'd be similar to what we've had with Teespring for years, so long that when we started it was Teespring, now it's just Spring. Fourth Wall is a much more involved, much more in-depth setup, and so we're going to be doing a full-on launch with Fourth Wall. We're going to be working with them on that. There's a lot of tools that they have that Spring just doesn't have, and so I'm kind of excited about it. I think the best known that deals with Fourth Wall would probably be Phil DeFranco. So if you look at how he has like collections and merch drops and stuff like that, I could start doing that. So it is much easier to do, and Yvonne and I were talking through different strategies we could use for this and everything. They also have sort of a similar setup to Patreon, so we could, while not necessarily leaving Patreon, have sort of a similar setup with Fourth Wall that we have with Patreon. Of course, we have memberships here on YouTube as well. We're not doing away with that by any stretch either, but it gives us other options. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about that, so I wanted to share that with people. And I've been going over this idea for the last couple of weeks. The preview videos, there is that small, really dedicated fan base of the preview videos. I have kept the preview videos in rotation on this channel for years. This year I went to the multi-day previews with the idea that maybe it would generate a little more traffic, having a 3-day preview with 22 or 24 games on the board, going through various statistics. So I try to, go through, like recently been doing just like who's scoring the most over the last month, who's, been ice cold lately. And I've spent, I think, 6 years now with preview videos. And so what I'm going to do next season, I will continue to do preview videos for the rest of the season. I'm just giving people a heads up that I will include the previews with a news video in the morning every day. So basically, all the news items are here, and who's playing each other would be down in this part of the board. And obviously, with days where there's matinees, I'd be doing like a news video, say, in the evening, and the preview video attached to that. So it would just be part of the news videos. It would be at the end of the news videos, and I would include a timestamp of news for the first part and then the preview for the second part. So you can just use the little chapters thing at the bottom. But that's the scenario that I think just works the best. The amount of time that I spend setting up some of the preview boards, I had Yvonne do one last week. And she said to me, she's like, this takes a while. And I was like, yeah, it does. And so like, just for my own, time and managing it better and making it work better, the preview videos are just going to be absorbed into the news videos. So like last season, for instance, if there was 4 or less games in the NHL, I didn't do an actual preview video. I would just include the preview with the news video. And that worked all right. And so that's the plan. So I'm not doing away with previews altogether, but they will be included with the news videos starting next season. I'll just continue these for the rest of this season. And then my other plan is, while we're down this rabbit hole, is coming up with what we call like tentpole videos. So for instance, the power rankings are the big tentpole video, right? And I've got Panic Index, player power rankings that I've added this season, and just certain tentpole videos. I would like to have more of those. So coming up with something that I can do every week, like I do the 32 team videos here and there. Maybe I can have a day where once a week I talk about, here's a player on each team I want to talk about, that kind of thing. And have like a set schedule. I know, crazy, right? I've talked about having a schedule. I have so many like day planners that sit around in my bedroom and around the house that I buy them, and I'm like, this year I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write out my schedule, I'm going to figure this out. And then a week into the season, I'm like, well, that's done. And so that's how that works. But that's the plan. And another idea I'm having too is that maybe with the power rankings, if I did them after the Sunday games, like that's another debate I'm having with myself too. Because the funny thing is, I've been looking the last few weeks, and a lot of the things that people get mad about with me on Saturday, with after the Saturday games, and whether I'm posting it Saturday night or Sunday morning, a lot of this team's in the wrong spot. A lot of the time, by the end of Sunday night, the rankings have changed again. So I don't know. I'm just debating about that. So we'll see. But either way, you guys are going to get plenty of warning. I'm giving you over 6 months warning about the change with the preview videos. And yeah, so there you go. But it will free me up so I can do more like team-centric videos, things like that. And taking out the previews takes out what has been the lowest performer on the channel. So again, I'm not wiping them out. I'm just absorbing them in and making it so it's a little bit easier. And so that I can take the time I'm using to set up this 4 foot by 2 foot board here every other day, or every, for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that three days worth of games, and take that time and use that for something else as well. So stay tuned. But thank you guys so much for all your support. It has been appreciated. The growth on the channel has been really strong lately. So thank you guys so much for that. And whether it's a comment, whether it's a like, whether it's a subscribe, or whether it's a share, whatever you guys are doing, it's working. Thanks for that. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. But yeah, your support is greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.